Hello, I'm Jedi Hill, the Alchemist Jedi, author of the book Alchemy, the Master's Path, Create Your Common Peace, and presidential candidate seeking the Libertarian nomination in May, and you are listening to Decentralize Now.
Hope you're ready. It's time for Decentralize Now.
Now, this question is going to put you in the hot seat a bit because, you know, most of our audience, if not all of our audience, is libertarian bent. So I think you're going to have to answer this question wisely. Does pineapple belong on pizza? See, he didn't have an answer.
Hold on.
Pulled out the,
I had to laugh on that one.
We talk about the easy ones, then we bring out the pineapple thing. You got him.
Pizza is one of my favorite things. Pineapple only goes with ham. And maybe bacon.
Free the people, free the markets. Decentralize Now.
Season 2.
All right, well, we've got a very special guest with us on the program. We have Jedi Hill, who is an author, speaker, and life coach. He's the author of the book, Alchemy, the Master's Path, Create Your Life in Peace. He's also the owner and founder at World Harmony Foundation, and he's seeking the Libertarian nomination for president in May 2020. We have Jedi Hill. So, Jedi, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. And we talked a little bit about this before the podcast. There's a lot to talk about because you've got a lot of different things going on. I mean, there's a lot of different dimensions. You have the book, there's the political campaign, and some really interesting beliefs that I was able to kind of research when I was researching your book. But I'm going to focus originally on your presidential campaign and then kind of just have an open-ended discussion about some of the other things that you have going on. But I wanted to start the interview with this. In this political climate, why do you feel it necessary for you to run as president? What's the hole that you think that you're going to fill for the American people?
Bringing vision and integrity back to America so we all win. Bringing the freedom and the prosperity to everybody in this country.
Now, what is it that about the current situation that you think needs to be amended? If you could kind of isolate that, why isn't the system working for everyone?
Well, it's really rigged on greed, and you have gotten companies that are, and don't get me wrong, lobbyists can be good, but you have so many backroom deals and corruption everywhere through all levels of government. And many of these are career politicians that have been in office 20, 30, 40 years and have no clue what the American people are going through.
Yeah, it's a corporatism. It's like an alliance between, government and these special interest groups. Is that kind of how you see it?
Yeah, I believe the proper term is an oligarchy.
Right. Absolutely. And that's kind of an interesting thing to research too, is that a lot of these corporations use the government actually for regulation, to keep out competition or to make it very difficult for people to become self-sufficient and kind of tap out of the system. Do you see these corporations sort of using, manipulating government to kind of empower themselves and maintain control and kind of create a system that doesn't allow you to step out?
Absolutely. I have quite an extensive medical background, so we can start there.
Sure.
The pharmaceutical companies, they are running the medical schools. They are rigging the price of the meds. Like if you look at something simple like penicillin, in most countries around the world, you can just go to the pharmacy and buy it over the counter. And then you have to like go to the doctor for more things like pain meds and things like that get abused, you know, your Aleve and your aspirins and things like that. So it's completely reversed in this country, and we don't have medical care, we have sick care.
Now, what do you mean by that? What's the difference between medical care and sick care?
Well, with sick care, you are treating the symptoms primarily with pharmaceutical drugs and toxic chemicals. That everything has massive side effects and you do more harm than good in the majority of cases. And healthcare is actually focusing on finding the root cause and fixing it. For instance, I'm sure you've heard about Monsanto, the GMOs, and Roundup.
Sure.
And
Oh,
their
yeah. It
recent
leads to
lawsuit
cancer,
on
doesn't it?
Yeah, they just got fined, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars for recent court cases. You know, proving that it caused cancer. It's in everything from beer to Cheerios.
Yeah, they found it in
Damn.
kids' Cheerios. They've actually broken it down in a lab and found the compound that's in Roundup in like little kids' Cheerios and shit, like you buy off the counter at the store.
Now let me ask this question, and we'll use that situation of the Cheerios. How do people get justice for that? You know, so that a child is fed Cheerios, develops this illness. How do we rectify that situation? Is it through a fine? Is it through jail time? What actually amends that situation?
Well, first you have to remove the chemicals from the food supply. Like this reparations and things for people, this Sue Happy Society. I'm really not a fan of it at all. It just passes the blame game, and you know, some people might get paid and other people don't, but it doesn't fix the root problems, which is stop poisoning our food, water, and air supply. Now,
you're speaking to some libertarians who are most likely listening. So I'm just going to play devil's advocate. I'm going to play ANCAP's advocate and say, but Jedi, what you're advocating for is government regulation of food, and doesn't that just shift power into the hands of the state to regulate our food supply? Wouldn't it be so much better if we just let the free market decide?
Well, here's the thing. I'm the libertarians. We are limited government.
You're right.
And the government is supposed to defend you against violence you can't defend yourself against. And this is the equivalent of someone sneaking into your house while you were sleeping and putting arsenic in your food. And this is like somebody trained and skilled. You know, you aren't able to defend against this as an individual.
So if I could kind of reinterpret that, you're saying that this is kind of like a NAP violation because you're sneaking poison in the Cheerios. The families don't know what's in there. So that's almost like a sneak attack. It's almost like attacking their families. Is that right?
Oh, it's attacking the families. It's attacking your livelihood, your health, the economy as a whole. Because that's why these healthcare costs are so high. Like in other countries, most of them have banned GMOs and Monsanto from their countries. And, you know, we have to label through government regulation Whole Foods, the organic. Well, that's completely backwards. Organic is food. If you're putting anything else onto it, that's what needs labeled. What poisons you're putting into the food.
What do you think the origin of this is? Is it they're malicious? Like, why are they putting chemicals in the water that turn the freaking frogs gay? Like, why is it happening?
Well, we're going to try and avoid some of the conspiracy theories. I'll give the benefit of the doubt here. And we'll just talk about greed and world domination. Like with Monsanto, you know, they are looking to actively control the food supply. And these individuals are not smart enough to think their thoughts all the way through to conclusion. Like with the corn and some of the other GMOs, they have put what's known as a kill gene into it. So if you don't spray a specific chemical on it, the seeds are infertile.
That's fucking interesting.
Exactly. So they have made it to where people are dependent on them to fertilize, to make the seeds fertile so you can use them another year. That's why normal with crops, you would keep some of your seed and plant it again.
Right.
But the way it's set up now with Monsanto's, you have to keep buying the seed from them. And they've tried to patent nature. So their seed will cross-pollinate with yours, and then the farmer across the field is getting fined and their crop shut down because Monsanto stuff contaminated their field. Now, I did live in Minnesota for a short time, so I've got to talk to some of the Monsanto scientists. So I've got to see this from the inside. Their executives know exactly what is going on. And they're not wise enough to, like, you have the potential to kill crops and kill the global food supply. This is a crime against nature and a crime against humanity itself.
You don't hear people talking about it in mainstream politics. I mean, this seems like this is like life or death stuff. If we don't eat, we don't survive. But we're going to talk. It sounds like we're talking about a lot of really arbitrary distractions in the media, not some of these pressing issues that really need to be addressed.
Well, this comes back to the FDA, and this is where, you know, the government interference comes into play.
You're listening to Decentralize Now with special guest Jedi Hill.
We were getting into the FDA.
Okay.
And, you know, many of the people in the charge of the FDA are either current or past executives and people in and the pharmaceutical companies.
So FDA, this government program, is basically just being staffed by executives from Monsanto, and that kind of goes back to what you were talking about an oligarchy. Is that right? So private companies using these federal agencies basically to do their bidding.
Well, exactly. And this is where I personally would like to, at the very least, gut the FDA.
Absolutely.
Because I'm a big fan of herbs, vitamins, minerals. Like if you look in Germany, and they do have socialized medicine, which I'm really not a fan of, but they did do a couple things right. People wanted to use herbs. So what Germany did was they did research, government sponsored, not corporate sponsored, of which herbs work and which ones don't. And the ones that passed the test through the scientists were then approved in the medicine. And if you look into studies, I can treat, well, sorry, not myself, but I'm just a consultant myself, but
sure,
you know, for legal purposes, you can treat yourself with vitamins, minerals, and supplements for things like anxiety, depression, bipolar, better with the nutrients than you can with the pharmaceutical drugs.
I do.
And these are things they try and keep from people.
I do agree with that a little bit. I feel a lot of times, like especially with like anxiety meds and depression meds, things like that. Yes, it might make you not be anxious for a while. It may not. You may not be depressed anymore, but you become dependent on that pill to give you that feeling of confidence or not feeling depressed. And then when you don't have it, it's 10 times worse than if you would have kind of treated it on your own, you know, figured out what's going on with yourself, kind of realized that, you know, get up off the couch, go for a run, you know, like you said, kind of like take vitamins, get yourself in shape. I feel like that's a lot of what causes depression and things like that, but they'd much rather throw a pill at it because it's way easier for you to have you go to the pharmacy every week and buy a pill to make you happy.
Well, exactly. You got to realize that the typical Western medicine doctor is just a drug dealer.
They are. They really fucking are, man.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's really, in my eyes, not a lot of difference between the guy selling crack on the corner and the guy saying like, hey, you know, hey, you're a doctor. Why don't you give out some of these pills for free? You know what I mean? Like, I don't see the difference in that. You know, like the first taste is free, motherfucker.
You know, the people are going to the crack dealer because they want the drug, where the doctor is pushing it on you and telling you need this with faulty, messed up, fake science. Like for the bipolar and things like that, where they talk about the brain chemical imbalance, and that's still being taught in the medical schools, and it's been disproven multiple times.
Wow.
What has been disproven exactly?
The excuse for why they want to give you the pills is that you have a chemical imbalance in your brain. And that's why you need the pills, but there's no blood test, no urine test or anything to test and prove this.
No, that's true. Yeah, they'll send you to a psychiatrist that bases everything off feelings.
Psychiatry is a joke. Like the entire enterprise of it's just fucked up. It's
really
a racket.
is. It totally is a racket.
To give some credit, like if we look back to the founders of the psychology, like your Sigmund Freud, and you know, one of my favorites, the Carl Jung, who was a fellow alchemist.
Okay.
They actually did do some good insights into how your mind works and you can regain control over it. But those have been commandeered by the pharmaceutical companies in modern time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that for a second.
and you mentioned like the exercise earlier. I talk about this in my book, and this is where the mind-body connection comes in. You know, running or working out is going to release the endomorphins and, you know, increase your serotonin and dopamine levels, which will improve your mood naturally.
Well,
absolutely.
Chemtrails brought this up on another podcast we've had, kind of talking about a semi-similar subject where we're one of the only countries that takes depressed people and puts them in a building with no windows and fluorescent lights and expects them to get better. You know, like a lot of other countries take them outside and have them play music and drum circles and all sorts of stuff to get them involved with other people. We really seem to lock them away. Like you know, don't pay attention to that. You know.
Well, it's like, you know, we live in an artificial environment. You know what I mean? Totally. Like the way that we go to school isn't natural. Our work lives aren't natural. You know, we're sort of, you know, crumbling the family unit that's kind of evolved from nature. And I'm all about, you know, people being able to make their own choices with how they want to, you know, have families or the lack thereof. But, you know, the way that we've evolved to live and exist has just been radically altered into this, you know, controlled, superficial, artificial environment, and it seems to be like the source of a lot of our problems.
Yeah,
absolutely. And we'll hit the education one here in a moment, but let's start with the artificial environment.
Sure.
With the fluorescent lights, you are releasing EMF, so you're having low-level, you know, electromagnetic radiation, which irritates the body. You know, similar to microwaves, but at a lower dose.
It fucks your eyes up too. Over time,
it does.
It will fuck your eyes up.
And there's actually studies you can look into about how the fluorescent lights, you know, will make people more irritable and more depressed.
Yeah.
And what's really cool, when you look at Japan and even Canada and Europe, they have done all kinds of studies on earthing, which the indigenous people have always known. You got to have your bare feet on the earth. And what happens is when you have your bare feet on the earth, you get the free electrons flowing up into your body. It grounds you out. And it has a super antioxidant effect to reduce swelling and inflammation throughout your body.
Busted, is this not like one of the best fucking episodes we've done in a long time?
Oh, I'm having a fucking blast, dude.
This is fucking great.
This is right up my fucking alley.
Well, thank you. And I'm really excited, you know, especially with the libertarians, because as we're getting into it, you know, with my book, Alchemy, the Master's Path, the goal of it and what made it so hard, it was over 20 years of research in everything from ancient cultures around the world, physics, neuroscience, psychology, and all kinds of other fun things in different health fields, and then figure out how the whole cosmic jigsaw puzzle works and how we can apply that to our bodies and our lives, and then simplify it to about a 10 to 12-year-old understanding, so we can teach the next generation how to think instead of brainwashing them with what to think.
I mean,
if I can get in for this last thing about the party, I just wanted to ask this, why the Libertarian Party? Why not maybe the Green Party or the Republicans or the Democrats? Why the Libertarian Party specifically?
Well, I've been a fan of the Libertarian Party since I was a kid with my dad watching Ron Paul back in 1988.
Oh, wow.
Now I will honestly admit I did not like Gary Johnson.
I voted for Gary Johnson.
It's interesting because you struck me as maybe being more of a, I don't know, on the Gary Johnson side of it. You didn't like him though. You thought that
I didn't like his
I'll let you tell us what you thought
personality.
about him.
Really?
It was the energy, because I'm
Sure.
very sensitive, and he just and he was a Republican that pulled in. Like
he was a
didn't
Republican. He did run on the Republican ticket in this state.
Yeah, and like nothing against him or anything. Like he was still way better than the options we had for Crooked Hillary and Carrot Top.
Okay, I haven't heard Carrot Top. It's a new one. I like that.
Did you not vote?
I did vote. I actually, on completely full disclosure, because I know this is going to be it's public record anyways. I did vote for Jill Stein for one specific issue. She was the only one with the Native Americans trying to stop the Keystone Pipeline. That's not a question of if, but when it poisons the water supply for the Mississippi River and over 100 million Americans. And the environment is a huge issue to me. It is what every indigenous culture around the world can come into unity and harmony, is the respect for nature. You got to live with nature, not against nature.
A lot of people. Oh, go ahead, Bussy. Go ahead.
I was just gonna. I completely agree. I mean, I'm right there with you. I feel like not trying to like call you out or anything, but I feel like a lot of times, Chemtrail and myself, because we differ. I mean, we're both libertarian, but we both differ on a lot of issues. And I feel like kind of environmental issues are sometimes something we don't always see eye to eye on.
I do take a more Rothbardian look on some environmental issues, like in terms of privatizing oceans and things of that nature. So yeah, we do disagree on some things, but Jedi, it's like oftentimes, and I fit this stereotype. The stereotype of the libertarian is I own the land, I bought it, I can do whatever I want. I can, frack in my backyard, and what that does to my community doesn't matter. That sort of, top hat wearing capitalist, caricature. But you're kind of representing a different type of libertarian, someone who is, responsible towards the environment, and is pro nature, and that those two ideas, a libertarian philosophy, a nonviolent philosophy, and a environmentally friendly lifestyle, those aren't mutually exclusive concepts.
Exactly. They can work synergistically together. And you made a very good point of the non-aggression. Okay? This is the issue with fracking and these other things, is your right to swing your arm stops at the next person's nose.
Right.
And this is how you have to look at it, is when you are being violent towards others. And with the indigenous people, any decision we make, you have to look at the ripple effect 7 generations in the future. Like for the environment, I feel positive. We can fix the vast majority of it through the private sector. Like air pollution is really simple. Yes, we need to work with industries to reduce what they're putting into the air, but nature already has the mechanisms to clean the air. So our simplest method to clean the air is, we've already got Earth Day every year, which is when I release my book. If everybody in the country planted 1 tree a year, within 5 to 10 years, air pollution, smog, and everything would be virtually gone in this country. And if we planted a large portion of them fruit trees, we'd be taking a bite out of hunger at the same time.
Did you have a question, Buzzard?
Well, I don't know that it's necessarily that simple, and I do feel like there is a lot of organizations that go out there and they plant trees regularly, and there's a lot of earth conscious people that do take those kind of things upon themselves.
Oh, there is. I believe India is working on planting 1 billion trees over the next couple of years. Globally, there were some scientists that estimated to clean up the air pollution would take around 1 trillion trees globally.
I mean, just kind of a devil's advocate kind of point of view. I mean, trees are something that we farm. People think of farming stuff as every 5 years, year and a half, year, and they get a crop and they regrow it. But I mean, people do farm trees. I mean, do you really feel like it's kind of losing my train of thought? Do you really feel like that's so much of an issue? There's not enough trees. People need to plant more trees. I mean, do you really think that's
well, that's just for the air pollution side. Okay, it's the overall pollution, what we're putting into our environment. And the old chemistry phrase is the solution to pollution is dilution. And for the plastics, I would like to see the industries shift as a whole to biodegradable plastics, especially the hemp plastics, because then we'll stop producing more that's damaging the environment. But for what's already here, as you guys had looked, what I'm looking to build with the World Harmony Foundation and looking to do this all for the private sector, whether I win the presidency or I win, is to take the plastic up out of the oceans, pull it up onto giant shipping barges, recycle it, use 3D printers and other advanced technology to form it into giant Lego-like blocks in specific geometric shapes that we can throw back into the ocean, link them together to create giant farm ships of just ambitious, amazing large sizes that we can do aquaponics and grow enough food and stuff for everybody on the planet. Because the key here is we must end the war between the haves and the have-nots.
Well, let me
and
press
you do that
on
by
that.
making everybody a have. We raise the base standard of living.
Well,
because if
let
we
me
look
press
at the
you-
Declaration of Independence, everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And it starts with life. So
Isn't it
everybody
human
deserves
nature, though,
food
to
and the
fight
ability
against
to
each other?
live. And if you want anything beyond that, you got to work for it.
You were trying to say something there, Chemtrail.
Yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't hear his audio. The whole idea of getting rid of the war between the haves and the have-nots, like wouldn't that take an aspect of kind of changing human nature? Do you think like it's going to take so much more than a political campaign to do that? And is that kind of where the spiritual beliefs come in?
The spiritual beliefs and the education are a major factor of it. As the Dalai Lama said, if we taught every 8-year-old on the planet how to meditate, violence would be gone within a generation.
Now you're looking at the other libertarian candidates. I know Arvin Vora, he's running. I know Adam Kokesh. What are your thoughts about the other candidates? The playing field that you see going into May in 2020 there in Austin. What do you think of these other candidates?
A couple of them that I've met in person are pretty decent guys. I'm not going to mention any names, but one of them wants to abolish the government within 2 months, which is not going to fit with the Constitution, and it's not going to fly with the masses. Like, we need a leader to bring us together in unity for the Libertarian Party that can appeal to the majority, the 42% that are independent.
Sure.
Which is why, where I'm looking at things, we need to scale back government, but you can't just get rid of Medicare and Medicaid overnight. We're going to have millions and millions of people die, and that's not okay.
What's
Like-
your thought on immigration?
We need
Interesting.
we need to transform it. Like I get both sides of it, from the completely open borders to the crazy wall thought.
The
And
wall
I
thought's
definitely
pretty
disagree.
horrible.
Oh, it is. Like, even if you didn't have the people involved, it's a horrible idea because of the amount of animals trying to travel back and forth and how you're messing with the ecology of the planet.
I just think it's a lot of money for something that won't work.
Well, exactly. They've already got all kinds of tunnels underground and all kinds of stuff.
Exactly, yeah. Drones exist, motherfucker. You know, like, you can't stop us. Get drugs across that shit easy.
And the biggest thing is, like, you know, we need to stop worrying about the IDs as much and work on helping the people, and more so funnel them so we don't overwhelm our existing infrastructure. Because, like, when I lived out in Colorado, and we had so many immigrants that you would have a 1-bedroom apartment with 10 people in it, and it was raising the rental rates to where the average American couldn't afford to live. And I had jobs in Aspen, Colorado, making great money. And, you know, the companies got rid of every good paying American and brought in Hispanics for a fraction of the price. And they were paying, you know, $4 to $5 grand to get them all fake IDs and everything else so they could hire them. And that's why in Colorado, you can't get your driver's license by going into the DMV, because you could just buy it off the DMV for $500 and get a fake one that's actually legit.
So what you're saying is I should start working for the DMV in Colorado. I'd make a lot of money.
Oh, God.
Well, they've changed it a bit around to where you get that stuff in the mail now, so that doesn't happen like it was.
Oh, shit.
But, like, we need to, you know, integrate the people into society, help them learn English, you know, establish jobs and build it. And the best thing we can possibly do is work on boosting business.
Amen.
To where we get to a negative unemployment, which will get the wages to increase to where we need to bring more immigrants in to keep up with the job demand. You know, cut down on as much regulation as we can. You've got to streamline it. And I would love to see everything be written in the common tongue or layman's terms. Because it's not right that you need to be a lawyer or a judge to even understand what the laws say.
Right.
Oh, I agree with that.
Now, with your focus on environmental issues, and I actually see it's a breath of fresh air actually to kind of bridge that into the Libertarian Party, because I don't think you hear enough focus on it in the Libertarian Party. But and you said that you have voted for Jill Stein in the past. So I got to ask the question, why not the Green Party? Why do you feel that isn't the route for you to take?
Well, the overall principles of the Libertarian for the limited government, the most freedom, is what I align with most. Because all the Green Party has is, let's legalize weed, marijuana, the other drugs. It is like their whole platform, and that's like one little line out of the Libertarian stuff.
Right, yeah. They're actually eco-socialists, isn't that right?
Yeah, they are big on the environment as well.
Absolutely.
So I do agree with that, but we can fix most of the issues through private. I'm actually working with some people on some stuff to change the entire economy around and turn it from a competitive economy to a cooperative economy that I'll be releasing details around January, February.
Now, let me hear more about that, a cooperative economy, because, the whole, Adam Smith, the way of the idea of capitalism is that, it's competition that leads to innovation and that leads to production, that type of thing. So how do we maintain that type of productivity or that system in a cooperative environment? So what does that mean, a cooperative economy?
Well, it's where everyone benefits from things. I'm a big fan of affiliate marketing.
Okay.
and the way we can track things. And there is so much lost and waste. And with the advances in computer technology, like, okay, let's say a new HP computer comes out.
Okay.
And because they're guessing how many people are going to buy it, they make 1 million of them. And they cost $1,000 a piece to buy to make the math simple. You know, it only costs $300 to manufacture it. Cost another couple hundred to ship and store it. And then almost half of the price is just being wasted on TV, radio, and advertising.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, they might not even sell it. So they only sell, say, 600 or 700,000. And you got 300,000 that are just wasted and thrown in the trash because the new models come out. So with the ability of technology to track things better and looking at unions with the unions give you cooperative bargaining power. We can actually create collective buying power to give the people an idea. So, you know, HP will know that, hey, about 700,000 people want this, so we're going to make 750,000 just to have a little bit of buffer. So now you have 250,000 that didn't get wasted, so we can actually drop the price of the product, making it more affordable for the customer. And we didn't have to pay all the extra advertising, so we can kick some of that advertising money back to the customers, and everybody starts to win. And then as far as the innovation and things like this, science is using this with different platforms already to crowdsource knowledge when they're working on things. You know, use the innovation from people around the world with different contests and various things to solve math problems and issues with physics and everything else in a fraction of the time it would take normal industry to do it.
You're currently listening to the best podcast in the whole fucking universe. Decentralize Now.
So I want to talk about the, let me pull this up, your foundation and the work there, the World Harmony Foundation. So I did a little bit of research, and this is what I was able to ascertain about the World Harmony Foundation. Basically, you have a plan that by 2030 we can revolutionize, you know, our economy and our way of life. So how did the World Harmony Foundation start? What is that looking to do specifically? How can people get involved? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, to get involved is very simple. You know, look me up at Jedi Hill, send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or Alchemist Jedi. The plan of it, I chose 2030. And 11/11 is the goal for a World Harmony Treaty signed by all countries, you know, to just invert the energy of doomsday, you know, and do the good things like how we ended World War II. And the 2030 is actually a counterpoint to the UN's directive for the one world order to have control by 2030. So I figure if that's their timeline, we need to have a counter timeline to counteract their plan to actually restore freedom. And that's where the war on the have and have nots. That's why I'm going for president. And this is why I wrote the book, to train the people of the world how to think instead of brainwashing them what to think. You know, the big one, you know, the ship farms, clean up the plastic. And if you're familiar as libertarians with seasteading.
Sure. Yeah, you had me thinking about that.
And this is, you know, where it's really coming into play and fun. And I am totally looking for donors. My estimate is 100 million to build my first island.
Wow.
The size of a large city, floating in the ocean that we can navigate through the seas.
Sign me the fuck up.
Yeah, I'm down.
And I'm looking to do this whether I win or I win. That's why it's got to be all done through the private. And, you know, for those of you viewers who don't know, there are 5 major plastic trash islands in the ocean. The largest in the Pacific off the coast of Cali is over 1,000 miles in diameter, or about 5 times the size of Texas.
That's crazy.
So we have all the building materials and energy we need to build things. And once we have these islands established, I look to create guilds and pull inventors from around the world to them, to where they can invent unencumbered by regulation.
Wow.
To release some of the withheld Tesla technology and other higher technologies, so we can end the need for fossil fuels.
Can you speak about that? The Tesla technologies that have been withheld by regulation, which I think is a great talking point for libertarians, because the opposition will say no, regulations help the people. We should allow governments to have the ability to regulate strongly, but it's actually withheld a lot of technologies. Can you speak more to really any technology that you think is interesting? But I'd be specifically interested to hear more about the withheld Tesla technologies.
Well, I'll give you one I've actually got to see in person. I used to know someone that scientist that knew Tesla before he died.
Wow.
And Tesla had shared some of the tech with him before the government, stole and robbed it after his death. And he took him like almost 30 years to finish the prototype, because we didn't have the materials to actually build the design at the time. He created what's known as a boundary layer pump that works with the similar principles of lift and that airplanes work on. That with a man on a bicycle and a 3 to 4 inch hose, you could fill an Olympic-sized swimming pool in about a half an hour.
Wow.
What was this called? Boundary layer or something?
Free the people, free the markets. Decentralize now.
Sir, you might return.
Actually had, I've known I was going to run for president for a while. And I actually broke off connections for some high-level military and other people I used to know. Because I knew I was going public eventually. And, around the...
Just with sensitive information, or just going public that you're running for president and they didn't want to be with that? Like, I mean, for their own safety or something? Like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, they didn't want to be around for their own safety. And I wanted to protect them because they have families and stuff like that. And because, I was told about 9/11 3 days before it happened.
Really? Now you gotta tell us that. So yeah, what's up with that? Tell us how, if you don't mind, how that happened when someone told you that's gonna be an amazing story.
Did you believe it? Did you believe them?
Jesus.
Oh, I did believe it, because I actually had a plan to go to New York City that weekend and stay into the next week, because I'm here in Ohio and it's only about an 8.5 hour drive.
Okay.
And I got a call up on that Saturday before, and they're like, cancel your trip to New York. And I'm like, why? And all they would say is twin works of art going up in flames.
Damn.
So, and then, of course, I'm watching the news on Monday where Rumsfeld's talking about, what was it, the 2.3 or 3.2 trillion dollars being missing. I forget which one it is.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2.3 trillion. Yeah, up and missing, and then the next day, Pentagon, boom.
Exactly. And I've got enough of an engineering background that when I flip on the TV, it's like that was a controlled demolition. And anybody with any engineering background, like, those buildings were designed to be within a mile of nuclear blast and still remain standing.
Well, wow. I mean, the firefighters that went into those buildings reported explosions from underneath the floor from the basement that blew them up off the ground and up against the walls and shit. I don't think anyone here is going to disagree with you that that was some planned, organized shit.
Yeah.
Can you imagine unironically believing that taking the blue pill on that issue, that those were actual planes and that's the reason why it fell?
Well, just think of all the shrapnel and fire that rained down on all those buildings around there. Like Tower 7 goes down, just that one building. None of the other ones around it. None of the ones closer. No, that's ridiculous. It's. I mean, I feel like you have to be blind to not see that was organized.
Well, yeah, and that's where any American that really paid attention knows they couldn't trust their government from that point on. But the more important things is not what's happened in the past; it's where we go from here.
Mm-hmm.
And like for the education we were mentioning earlier, it's not done right. As you may or may not know, we only have 2 natural fears. One is the fear of falling, and the other one's the fear of loud noises. And if you look at the experiment, I think Skinner was his name, but I might have the name wrong. But Pavlov's dog. I can't remember his first name, sorry. He used the bell and the steak to get the dog to salivate.
Mm-hmm,
And do the same thing with children, to use the loud noise to like put the body into fight or flight mode and get them to do what you want them to do. And then when you get older and into the industrial and you're doing work, what happens if you work an industrial job? Wow, the bell rings, time to work. Whoop, bell rings, lunch. Bell rings, back to work. Bell rings, day done. They're using the biology to train you to be just smart enough to push the button and not ask, why are you pushing this button?
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of this public education came about during the age of industrialization. So you can see this correlation between the industrial workforce needing, workers, laborers, and some of these changes, this sort of regimentation in public education. So it's almost like you're saying, they're training them just to be workers in the factories, that kind of thing. You're not trained in these institutions to be an independent thinker or to make the most out of the life. You're just being trained to be, a cog for a corporation.
Exactly. And you're not taught financial education in school intentionally.
No, they don't teach you how to do anything in the real world.
And that's something I would really like to change and work with people like Warren Buffett and Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad, to actually create curriculum that is shared freely with everyone in the country. We get into Social Security. And we know us people, pretty much anybody under the age of 40 is not going to see hardly anything the way it's sitting right now. And possibly even under 50. So what I would like to do, and this is totally an appeal for the voters, for the older baby boomer generation.
Oh shit, he just stood up the question and cut out.
Dude. Yeah, it's
Fuck,
horrible.
I was at the edge of my seat.
Horrible timing.
Here's what we gotta do.
Yeah, right.
We apologize for the inconvenience. It appears the FBI has hacked our computers and is trying to stop the broadcast. But god damn it, we'll have a podcast yet. Stay tuned for more with Jedi Hill.
There he is.
Are we back?
We're back now. Yeah, you said something about baby boomers. Go ahead after that.
Okay. With the Social Security, to appeal to the baby boomers because they have done their work and, they deserve to not just live in poverty. There's a large portion, especially of like the widows, where they were okay when the husband was alive and they had both of them getting Social Security. But now she's making, he passed away and now she's making $900 to $1,200 a month, barely enough to cover her rent. So she gets to have a place to live or she gets to eat. So I would like to raise the minimum of Social Security per household up to $2,000 a month, which will start draining the fund quicker. And then give everybody under the age of 60 the option to opt out of Social Security and make it automatic for anybody under about 30 to 35.
So you're saying for people under 30 to 35, it's mandatory Social Security. So when they
Well,
get
no,
to a certain age,
mandatory
they're going to
opt
get
out.
Oh, I see. Mandatory opt out. Okay. It makes sense. I gotta admit, I'm attracted to Kokesh. I like a lot of the things that he says, but there has to be a plan, I suppose, to scale back a lot of these programs.
Right. You can't just stop them. You have to phase them out as we go generation to generation.
But what do you make maybe of the counterpoint that those with power don't like to give it up? You know what I mean? So those with power, and to maintain power for as long of a time as would be necessary to make these changes. Because even the things you're talking about, they're not going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time, and maintaining power, definitely as a libertarian for that long of a period of time, is going to be a tremendous effort. So what do you think of the idea that it might be a better strategy to seize the moment when you have your chance, move quickly, act swiftly and decisively, instead of just hoping that you'll be able to maintain power for as long of a period as is necessary to slowly make these changes through implementation?
Well, that's why like Social Security, in addition to the environment stuff, is one of my really big ones. Because when you opt out of Social Security, what's going to happen is what you pay into Social Security now and what your employer pays will now go to a private investment account that you control. And you'll be able to invest it in everything from government bonds, stocks, whatever, to help people participate in the economy itself. So everybody's interested in the economy growing. And then you will be able to borrow against that fund for two reasons. One is to buy real estate, buy a house, because everybody deserves the American dream. And real estate is a trend over, 20, 30, 40 years is always going to go up. Because with the exception of me, there's nobody in the business of making more land. And number two, you can borrow against your retirement to start a business, because it is the small business that has pulled this country out of every recession and every issue we've had. So if you are willing to risk your retirement to create more jobs for more Americans, God bless you.
Right.
I like that.
Absolutely.
Because, if you're looking at the hardest thing to get a loan for is a small business loan.
Yep.
And there are so many people with great ideas that just an extra 5 to 10 grand would let us blow the economy up. Not kaboom up, but let it expand at an exponential rate.
Yeah, don't get any false ideas, FBI. Well, let me ask you. We discussed education. You talked about how that's very important for you. We discussed how public education right now isn't really training people to be independent or to make the most out of their lives. It's just to prepare them for the workforce and potentially exploitation in that sense. But what's the solution for education outside of the public education system? What's the alternative? What's the solution there?
Well, there are many possible solutions, and I've really thought about this one for a while. And with the libertarian view, we want to keep things as open, and we want to get the federal government out of it as much as possible, go back to the states. But we also want to make sure we defend the parents' rights to choose how the children are educated, whether it be public school, private school, charter school, homeschooling, or whatever. That being said, the advancements in technology enable us to do things online, and that many colleges have their whole curriculums for free. So we need to do more customized individual education, give people a basic level of reading, writing, arithmetic, and, finance and stuff, so they know how to balance, not just balance their checkbook, but invest for the future, and then focus on their passions to create unity through specialization. And, also on that line, like I've mentioned the book before, Alchemy, the Master's Path. To help with that, I would like that to be read by every single person in America. And to help with that, you can go to my website, alchemythemasterspath.com, and download the PDF for free.
Imagine that, a libertarian giving something and not charging for it.
Yeah, well, don't get me wrong. You can still buy it on Amazon, Walmart, Barnes & Noble if you want a physical copy. And please do.
What is it? What inspired you to write the book, and maybe what are some of the central themes?
What inspired me to write the book is the average person doesn't know how to think, how to connect to their calm, still center. They're all stuck in the fight or flight or the survival mode, and they don't know how to engage their higher mind function. And there are some people that do it, but it's a very small percentage. And those that know how to regulate their emotions are using that to manipulate the masses. That is what I learned from Obama and Trump both. You cannot appeal to people based on logic. You have to appeal to them based on their base emotions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what the book does is it first starts with the 7 Hermetic principles, which are the universal laws that govern the universe, and you will understand more just in chapter 1 than you will get through a physics book. To give you an understanding of how the universe works. Then I go into things like breath work, because all of your emotions are held in the breath. And as you learn how to change your breath work, the simple one I give with clients is you breathe in for a count of 4 and you breathe out for a count of 8. This will take your body from the fight or flight back to the rest and digest to help you calm down your anxiety so you can actually think through what's going on.
Wow.
And then after that, I'm using neuroplasticity, which just means you can rewire your brain any way you want and learn how to control your subconscious mind. I give all the different tools from antiquity to modern neuroscience. Then I talk about how to do the emotions. And then the big ones for like me is having a vision, a guiding of where you want to go. We all need a guiding light to guide us forward. And it's not just, what I want to do next week or next month. It needs to be something that is an infinite goal, that is something beyond what you can achieve in your lifetime. I talk about a World Harmony Foundation in 2030. I have goals way beyond that. And I have goals planned out to 2100 if I live that long.
Let me ask this, for people who don't have that purpose, that central goal that these things are all working towards, what do they do to find that? And is there necessarily this purpose out there that exists for every person? Talk a little bit more about purpose and how you find that.
Well, this is where I will borrow from the Japanese, and this is in the book on page 83, and it's ikagi, which is a Japanese concept meaning a reason for being. And, it's IKIGAI. And, if you're looking at a circle graph, you have 4 things to look at: what you love, what you are good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. And you've got to look at where all those things intersect. So you have your passion, your mission, your profession, your vocation all coming together. Because if you're not passionate about it, it doesn't matter if you're making $100,000 a year, you hate your life. But if you love it, you could be making 30, 40 and get to enjoy life and be grateful to get up every day.
Well, I think I feel like we can just keep going. I know we're kind of coming up to an hour here.
This has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed all of this. I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely, Jedi. It's been probably one of the best podcasts we've had so far. So if you're open to it, we'd love to have you come on again sometime in the future. I feel like we've only really scratched the surface of what it is that you have to talk about. And I knew that going in because there were so many different topics and so many different places
Oh
that we
yeah,
could
and they
go.
all tie together.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It's all yeah, not to suggest that it's fragmented, but there's just a lot to talk about here. But I guess for anybody who's listening now and they like what they've seen or listened to rather, and they're excited about what it is that you have to say, what's your message to them, and how can they connect with you to help you as you try to take the nomination in May?
Well, the big thing is, we've got to go from competition to cooperation so we can create a country and a world where we all win. And when we all work together, we all win. And that's what really, and I'm not a fan of the socialists and, stealing from people and stuff like that, but we can do it, with conscious capitalism and working together and thinking ahead. And then you can reach me at Alchemist Jedi on any of your social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Or, if you're looking for the political, it's Jedi for USA. And I need all the volunteers and help we can get to create a country where we all win.